Welcome to the online cooking series for the 5 mother sauces. I'm Chef Stanley Weaver, the culinary instructor here at East Mecklenburg High School, and today we're going to be focusing on the classic mother sauce, tomato sauce. So very well known, very easy sauce to make, and we're going to start off with a few little knife cuts. So with our mother sauce for tomato, we're going to need to dice up an onion and some garlic. So we're going to start off with cutting off the top and bottom of our onion. And we're going to cut our onion in half. I'm going to go ahead and peel off that outer layer. So usually I go 1, which is that first outer layer, and then 2. That second layer is usually a little rubbery, so I like to take off that second layer as well. And we'll do the same thing with our second half. So we have that first layer, we're going to take off that second one as well. Alrighty, so there are so many ways on how to cut an onion. I'm going to show you one of my favorite ways, and it starts off with taking our onion and making a julienne. So if you look on your onion, there are natural lines on your onion. Your onion is telling you exactly where it wants you to cut it. So we're going to take our onion, holding our hand using that claw method. So our fingertips tuck back, our knuckles are what's pointing out, because our knife is never going to go higher than our knuckles. And we're going to cut our onion going around the radius, cutting using those lines on our onion. So we're going to go through and make cuts, trying to keep our onion together. Now I'm halfway through my onion. Instead of trying to continue going around, and you can see how I'm getting that awkward motion for my wrist, I'm just going to take my onion and I'm going to turn it. So that way I can go through and finish making those slices on the other half of my onion without having to turn my wrist and have that awkward motion. So here I have my onion cut into what is known as juliennes, so nice strips. I'm keeping my onion together because I'm going to turn my onion, keeping it nice and straight, and I'm going to go through and turn my juliennes into dices. So holding my onion together, using that claw method, making sure I'm gripping my knife firmly, and I'm going to go through and cut dices of my onion. Okay, using my finger, I'm going to push away from the blade to clean off my knife. And now I have my onion diced for my recipe. I'm only going to use half an onion, so I'm going to save this. And then my scraps, I'm going to save those as well because I can use those in my garden for my compost. Next I have my garlic cloves. So my garlic is a little bit bigger. In the recipe it says 3 cloves of garlic. My clove of garlic is fairly large, so I'm just going to use 1. So the first thing we want to do, just like our onion, is that we're going to want to take off that outer layer. So with the garlic clove, we do that by pressing the garlic with the back side of our knife. So laying our knife nice and flat on our garlic, using the palm of our hand, we're going to press. And that's just going to open up our garlic slightly for us to be able to pull that outer layer off. If you're having a little bit of a harder time, you can go back for a second time. Make sure you have a nice firm press so you can peel off those layers on your garlic clove. Alright, once you have your garlic all peeled, your garlic does have a root end, so you want to make sure that we cut off that root end before we mince up our garlic. So we're going to go through and I'm going to cut my garlic in half. And I'm going to go through and cut some slices. Okay, and then I'm going to go through again and cut them into some dices. Okay, clean off my knife. And then using a rocking motion, I'm gonna put my hand on top of the spine of my knife, and using that natural curve of my chef knife, I'm gonna rock my knife back and forth to mix my garlic into finer pieces. Okay, collect all of my garlic together, go through one more time, and make sure my garlic is nice and fine. Okay, so those are our 2 knife cuts for our recipe today. We minced a garlic clove and we diced an onion. So now we're ready for the cooking process. So in a nice medium-sized sauce pot, we're going to get our heat started, and we're going to add in some olive oil. And while our olive oil is heating, we're going to add in our garlic. You want to add in your garlic before your oil starts to get really, really hot, because then it'll cause your garlic to burn. We want our garlic to slowly start to cook with our oil as it comes up to temperature. And that helps our garlic to start to infuse with that olive oil instead of burning because of that high heat. So just want to let our garlic start infusing with our olive oil. And then as our oil heats up, you're going to hear the garlic start to sizzle a little bit. That's how you know you're ready to add in your other ingredients. So also with our onion and garlic, we have some tomato paste that we're going to brown with our onions and garlic to caramelize a little bit and start to develop some of those sugars. We have some herbs that we're going to be adding, some basil and and a bay leaf. We're also going to add some crushed red pepper, salt and pepper to season, and then we have our tomato product. We have some crushed tomatoes, tomato concassé, which is diced tomatoes with the skin removed, and then a little bit of vegetable stock to cook our tomato sauce down with. So our garlic is starting to sizzle with our oil. It's at a nice consistent heat. We're gonna go ahead and add in our onion. And we don't want to brown our onion. We want our onion to sweat, which means that it's going to start to look very translucent. It's going to look very glossy. We don't want our onions to brown. So you want to make sure you're monitoring your heat, making sure it's not too high. And we just want to sweat our onions. Just give them a little translucent, start to get them nice and soft. Okay. Once our onions are nice and translucent, they're starting to soften up a little bit, we're going to add in our tomato paste. And we want to give our tomato paste a little time to start to caramelize with our onions and garlic. We're going to mix in our tomato paste, give it time to start to break down and caramelize. We really want to start activating those sugars in our tomato paste, in our onions. And as that sugar caramelizes, it's going to give us another depth of flavor to our sauce. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add in our red pepper flakes, our basil, our bay leaf. We're going to season with a little bit of salt, black pepper, and go ahead and add in both of our tomato products. Alright, we'll give our sauce a nice good stir and get it nicely incorporated in with our onions and garlic and all of our seasonings. And again, want to make sure we're monitoring our heat. We don't want our tomato sauce to at a rapid boil. We're going to at a nice gentle simmer. Then we're going to add in our vegetable stock. Perfect. All right, so we're going to let our tomato sauce come up to a nice gentle simmer and let it cook for about 10 to 15 minutes. Give our sauce enough time for those flavors to marry together. When we're looking at our classic mother sauces, with the majority of our mother sauces, there's always a thickening agent. In our veloute, it's a roux. In our bechamel, we also use a roux and the method of reduction. But in our tomato sauce, a lot of the times, our tomato sauce may not need to be reduced, or if it does need to be reduced, we'll use that natural reduction method of letting that extra water evaporate and condense down and intensify those flavors. So we're gonna let it simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes. When your tomato sauce has simmered and is at the desired consistency that you would like, you can go ahead and remove your bay leaf. You want to make sure that you always go back and check for seasoning. Make sure you have enough salt, enough pepper. If you want to increase the level of spice that you have in your tomato sauce, you can always add more crushed red pepper to it. And then you are ready to bowl up your tomato sauce. Now, with tomato sauce being a classic mother sauce, your tomato sauce can have other things added into it to make derivatives. You can add ground beef and a little bit of red wine to make a bolognese sauce. You can add mixed vegetables like squash and zucchini and julienne peppers and make a vegetable tomato sauce that is really great with pastas. Many different options that you can do with your classic tomato sauce. Or you can serve it just as it is in the form of a soup with a nice grilled cheese sandwich as well. So, classic tomato sauce using two different types of tomato products, tomato concassé and crushed tomatoes. We don't use a thickening agent. If we do need to thicken it, we'll naturally thicken it using the reduction method, making sure that we season with salt and pepper, adding in those herbs of basil. You can add other herbs if you would like, and then just bringing up that little bit of that spice in our sauce with a little bit of crushed red pepper. So there you have it, our classic tomato sauce.